Hello everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics in the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail. Broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. My story started by accident. I have a best friend who I've known for 16 years. My friend has a sister. I didn't see or know my friend's sister. One day, I called my friend. His sister picked up the phone. We started a dialogue. I was fascinated by her voice, intelligence, and so on. We have been communicating on social networks for a long time. In the end, we had a meeting. We were sitting in a cafe and talking about everything in the world. I felt so easy and good with her as with no one else. We had a lot in common. After a while, I realized that I fell in love with her like a boy. It seemed to me that she loved me too. I was 37 years old, and before I met this girl, I didn't have a serious relationship. She was 34 years old and had 2 children. These were 2 girls whom my wife gave birth to from a previous civil marriage, in which she lived for 10 years. But by the time we met, she was already free. Anyway, I moved in with her and we started living together. Before that, we lived in different cities. I found a hard job in her town. There was nothing to choose from. The city was small, but I was just over the moon with happiness. Just because we were together. The children accepted me very well. I perceived them as relatives and tried to pay attention to them. 5 months later, I proposed to her, and she gave a positive response. There wasn't much money at that time, but I heard a hint of a diamond ring. I was a little surprised by this request, but I bought this ring anyway. In general, before the wedding, I often gave my wife gifts and flowers at every opportunity, only because I wanted to please her. After our wedding, my wife ordered me not to spend money on nonsense. I was surprised again, but I still tried to arrange little surprises for my wife. My wife's brother is my best friend. From the very beginning, he was against our relationship. It even got to the point that her brother filed a police harassment report against me, but the police figured out what was what. At my wedding, I was afraid that he would do something. However, he came to the wedding and calmly congratulated us. My wife's mother didn't like me very much either, because I had a very big influence on her son. My mother-in-law tried to destroy our marriage, but after the first attempt, she calmed down. My mother-in-law even helped organize our wedding. At the direction of my wife, we scored a lot of credits to organize a wedding and pay off debts, to start our family life in comfort. I didn't quite understand why all this was necessary. I was completely satisfied with the modest ceremony, but my wife wanted a white dress and a party. After our wedding, ordinary life began. I changed several jobs until I found what I needed. My wife didn't work. She stayed at home and did the housework. However, immediately after the wedding, my wife was somehow replaced. If earlier, we jointly approached the solution of any issues, but now, any of my actions caused a flurry of criticism and reproaches. Even after we discussed everything beforehand, there were conflicts ranging from nailed shelves to the wall and ending with sex. I'm doing everything wrong, and in general, I'm very bad. That's what my wife said. So we lived for 6 months. I was to blame all the time. Even if I didn't do anything at all, I tried to earn more money. Despite the fact that I already earned more than average, I got home very late. My wife started complaining that she didn't have any friends, that she's staying at home because of me. She rejected all my offers to go out together. I even offered to go to her friends. I tried to pay maximum attention to her, but my wife was worried about it. She told me to do something and not stand over her soul, but when I found something to do, it was a computer. I wanted to study software. My wife didn't let me do it properly. She made a scandal. She screamed that I spent all my free time at the computer. Of course, she made me guilty again. After a while, I went to study. I passed the certification commission. Before the wedding, she supported me. But after the wedding, she became categorically against it. A real hell has begun in my life. I couldn't study or work at all. There were constant conflicts. My wife's phone has been password protected for months. In the end, my wife invited her mother to our house. When I saw them, my wife said she wanted a divorce. It was like a bolt from the blue. Of course, now I understand that everything was going exactly to this. But if you go back in time, you can understand that I made a lot of mistakes. I was on my knees, humiliated, and begged for a second chance. Changed for the better for the sake of his wife. Got drunk and threatened his wife. Even wrote her nasty things in messages. But nothing has changed. I suspected that a third person had appeared in our relationship. Before me, my wife had a very liberated sex life. Simply put, she was windy. Well, my wife warned me right away, because she was afraid that I would find out about her past. Even when we lived together before the wedding, she accepted courtship from other men. We had constant conflicts. I really didn't like it. One day I came home from work very early. I found my wife beautifully dressed and made up. Obviously, she was on a date, but she said she was picking up a child from school. After she said she wanted a divorce, I turned to a lawyer and told my wife what documents would be required for a divorce. I was ready to pay all state duties, but she hid these documents and said she couldn't find them. My wife invited her mother to stay with us again. My wife's mother tried to piss me off. She wanted me to break down and hit her. She wanted to go to the police, to be put in jail. Of course, her mom didn't succeed, and she left, but there was an unbearable atmosphere in our house. My wife, with a stony expression on her face, was silent all this time. She was constantly receiving calls and messages on her mobile phone. I could only guess who was writing to her at that moment. I even started sleeping in the car. Eventually, I blew up and got really drunk. I called my wife and threatened her. Then I went home to talk face to face. She deliberately provoked me. As a result, she called the police and said that I had threatened her. As a result, I was forbidden to approach my house, and they banned communication with my wife for a while. If I violate even one condition, I will be put in jail. My wife was warned about this. The next day, she called me right away. Of course, I didn't pick up the phone. A couple of days passed, and I returned home with the police to pick up my things. My wife was moaning from the house. The police knocked on the door, and everything went quiet. We waited at the door for 15 minutes. The door opened. The police understood everything and tried not to look me in the eye. I was very ashamed and uncomfortable. I took my things and left. Now I live in a rented apartment. My wife called me again yesterday. Of course, I didn't pick up the phone. I finally realized that there is treason and betrayal. With the help of the police, my wife wanted to harm my career and studies. Double betrayal. I decided to take revenge on my wife. When I was packing my things, my wife was talking to her lover and the police. I took all our money savings over the years. I can't say it's ours because I'm the only one who's worked. It all belongs to me. The amount there was not small at all. I imagine the look on her face when she finds out. My wife insists that I take all the debts on myself and give her the car. I laughed and said that we would solve everything through the court. I've hired a good lawyer. In the end, I left her almost nothing. She calls me every day and pretends to be a very nice girl. She asks for forgiveness and wants everything back. But it seems to me that this is her insidious plan. She is angry that she was left with nothing. Maybe I still have feelings for her, but I will never forgive betrayal. After a while, I found a new girlfriend. My ex-wife lives very poorly. She can't leave me alone. I think she got her punishment. I made a small conclusion for myself. All girls depend on money. Especially as my ex-wife, who hasn't worked half her life. I'm happy at the moment. I let this situation go. I hope that everyone who has faced a similar situation will get acquainted with my story. They will draw conclusions and will not make mistakes. I survived this hell, and you can survive it too. If you liked it, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new videos. Now, we will move on to the advice of the author of the channel. Channel Author's Advice. I understand the difficulties you are facing and I want to give some useful tips. Be kind to yourself in this difficult time. Realize that you are not alone and it is normal to seek help from friends, family, or a counselor. Prioritize your emotional well-being. Engage in activities that bring you peace and happiness. Take the time to take care of yourself and build a strong support network. Remember that this experience does not define you. Focus on your strengths and the opportunities that lie ahead. Believe in your ability to overcome this and find happiness again. It's normal that you haven't figured everything out right now. Take small, manageable steps to rebuild your life. Set achievable goals and mark every milestone. Use this as an opportunity for personal growth. Learn from the past, but don't let it interfere with your future. Accept the new experience and allow yourself to become a stronger and wiser person. You have the stamina to overcome these difficulties. Stay strong and believe in your ability to create a bright future for yourself. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.